Hey everybody, it's PVSB with the CPG guys. I'm here on the floor of Shoptalk at the Criteo booth, and we're talking with Matt Kellman. Matt, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
It's so good to have you here with us.
I've been a viewer for a long time. I'm so excited to actually talk to you in live person.
And you know my co-host, Shri.
I do, man. I reported to Shri at J&J for a lot of years.
You've got the scars to prove it, too.
I do.
Shri. Just a little bit of fun teasing you. So tell us what you're up to now.
So I'm senior director at a company called Maesa.
Yep.
So I oversee Omni, e-com, and D2C, and anything kind of digital. Maesa is a company that we partner with a retailer and a celebrity, and we go launch brands exclusively for a year.
Brilliant.
So we have a brand named Kristen S.
Yep.
That's at Target, Ulta, just launched at Walgreens, and a few other places. We have a brand named Heritage at Walmart by Midnight McKnight.
Yep.
We have very topical, Hey Humans and the Smith family is a brand of ours. We have a brand of natural deodorants, body wash, and so forth. We have Priyanka Chopra. We're launching a new brand this week called Andrew Fitzsimons at Ulta. Go check it out. It's a hair care brand. It's going to be pretty cool.
Terrific. We had on the stage last night, they were talking all about both Ulta and Sephora. So great channels to sell through. So
I love
congratulations.
it. Yeah, and our team, so we have a team, we do customer development or sales.
Yeah.
We also have our digital shelf team, and then we have our customer service team.
Yeah.
But I'm super happy to talk about retail media.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite topics.
Well, let's talk about that and specifically what's going on here at Shoptalk. What brought you here other than an airplane?
Yeah.
And what's got you excited about this here at Shoptalk?
So really, it's the vendors.
Yeah.
I have not found a conference as good as this one, where you can walk the floor and actually meet tech vendors that within 30 seconds give you the reason to believe, they find a use case, and then you have the follow-up meeting.
Yeah.
So I've been here on the floor maybe an hour, and I've already had probably four big conversations about partnerships.
And I think it's hard to deny that this is the place where everybody in our community talking about omni-channel digital retail media, they've all congregated to meet. You can get so much business done here at the show.
No emails. So nice to be here in the COVID times, right?
Yeah.
I'll be back here. I think there's 10,000 people here today.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So tell me, what's the top of your agenda from a retail media perspective at the show?
Yeah, so in my experience, and I've been doing different versions of retail media and search for a long time. I've worked with pretty much every retailer on this.
Yeah.
And obviously the value proposition is very clear of the first party data and targeting all that. That is one of the bigger things why I'm here.
Yeah.
As we move into a cookieless world,
Yeah.
retailers having cookies that can actually live through this,
Sure.
right? That's going to open up and change how we spend a lot of our money today. In my organization, I sit in a marketing team, and we're constantly talking about how much we're going to put into search versus social versus other things. This helps the conversation, for sure. Measurement-wise and platforms, it's cool to see what's out there, especially for these tech vendors. I mean, Criteo here is a vendor that I use very often, and actually years ago, one of the companies that Criteo actually bought is someone who I used to work with years ago. Would have only known that by being at this conference, which is really cool. And then really, I would say it's also looking at, I was at a event this morning talking about inflation and the effects of inflation on supply chain, on consumers, just loyalty and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as we move into this world of, hey, now when you invest in retail media, it hits your vendor income, and it hits the vendor's P&L, and it can offset. And you have maybe 10 things you could spend money with between content or things getting people to the pages or just these more loyalty and experiences. But as we're starting to look at it, one of the big reasons I'm here is how do we figure out how to invest in retail media to make sure we're living into the cost increases that are happening across the board? Because every platform is a pay-to-play now. And so how do you manage those? These conversations.
So how does a company like Criteo help you in terms of managing your investment? Because like you said, You have limited budget dollars. You have to make judicious decisions. What do they bring to the table that makes it easier for you to build a plan through their solution?
Great question. One of the biggest things that's most unique to Criteo is they actually have a metric called unique visitors, which is not how many people have clicked on your search ads, it's how many people have seen them. And it gives you a really good way of landscape assessing which retailers have the biggest shopping populations for your category.
Brilliant.
So we use Criteo. Just by spending in the platform, you can see how many people you're exposing to your ads. I can compare Target versus Ulta versus Walgreens versus CVS for the same brand and see how much does it cost to play in each platform, which platform has more people actively shopping and has a bigger opportunity.
And which are the ones that are right for your brands.
Exactly.
That's brilliant. Okay, so let's talk about trends and what you're seeing going on. Obviously, retail media is all the buzz. Are there specific trends within retail media that have got your attention right now and that are really making you think, okay, I've got to start adjusting my plan to accommodate for this?
So I would say two things that come to mind. One is now every retailer has a retail media arm.
Oh my God, my dry cleaner at the end of the street, she's got a bulletin board on her wall, so that's my retail media platform.
I'll buy out. There's absolutely Criteo on there. But so part of it is knowing which retailers to push back on.
Right.
So I give a great example of I spend a lot of money in Walmart search.
Yeah.
I do it all in-house, and we can manage things a little bit differently. But in my experience, depending on the category, it might cost me a $20 CPC in search to win a Walmart.
CPC is cost per click, right? Because we're educational here. We like to make sure everybody knows what we're talking about.
Sorry for the acronyms.
Yeah, that's why we're here, to make sure we're bringing everybody on the journey, right?
But so it's tough, right? When you have 10 retailers asking for trade dollars and marketing funding, how do you know which ones to put money into? You now have all this inflation happening. You have one pocketbook. How does this all work? With that, I found arbitrage is a valuable concept.
Yes, it is.
So the idea of your dollar is valued differently in different places where you can spend it.
Sure.
I could take $1 and spend it in Walmart search,
right?
Or I could take that same dollar and spend it in Target search. I'm going to get a 5 to 1 return in Target search, and my cost per click might be $1 or $2, but at Walmart it's going to be about 10 times as much.
So understanding what the return from each individual platform helps you make judicious decisions about how to invest your dollars and make everyone stretch to get the maximum return. That's brilliant.
Exactly. That and the cost. It's actually more of a cost play because we have some assumptions, right? COVID has put so many people online. There's also some great e-marketer stats that have come out over the past couple months of listing the top digitally visited websites from Q4 of last year.
Yeah.
Right? CVS is on there, Walgreens is on there, all of the big boxes are on there.
Sure.
And so that tells you that there are people there. There are people there. It might be there's 20,000 people at Meijer, and you pick up 5 Meijers, but that could be 100,000 people.
Yeah.
And so the cost of the platform really matters. The other thing is knowing how many people are on the platform tells you should you invest in media or search. If there's enough people on the platform for you to hit your sales targets, and they're actively searching, spend all your money in search.
Yeah, the interesting thing is you can't forget about search, right? Because at the end of the day, there's not enough retail media to cover every item in your assortment and solve all the problems. And you also have to be judicious about your budget. So making sure that you focus retail media on the items that need it, your top items, your innovation, maybe items that are falling below the line in terms of where they stand in terms of their ability to survive on their own. You have to
bottom shelf.
You have to make judicious decisions. And so understanding that really fine balance between search and retail media is what's going to drive success for a brand. That's really great.
It's spot on, and it's don't underplay search. Search. There's no better return right now than if there's enough people on a platform, they're showing up and telling you, I want this. We tend to complement search with retail media.
Yep.
But we may look at it and focus on platforms and categories where there are less shoppers active on for the category on that platform, and we'll look to bring in people who are cross shopping. Maybe you go to Walgreens and CVS for prescriptions and for very specific beauty assortment because that's where your loyalty points go.
You know, with the growth of retail media, the question I'm always asking people is, does it sit in trade? Oh, wow. Is it increasingly in headquarters? Or does it really matter as long as you have the measurements? What are your thoughts on where the industry is going in terms of the budget for above the line, below the line?
That wasn't on the list of questions. I don't know.
Well, you know, I think you could probably answer this in a politically correct manner.
I like this question because experience has been different. So some companies always fund search out of marketing.
Right.
Some companies do it out of trade.
Yeah.
I've worked at companies where Amazon, I used a marketing budget for the same things I use a trade budget for Walmart and Target.
Yeah.
And so there is this movement and this shift. I think when you're deciding where to put it, there's a couple things that matter. One is, how much do you want to be spending on other things? So if you have a very rich media mix, send retail media out of trade.
Yeah, sure.
Reserve your marketing dollars for the brand building and the equity building national media plays with social influencers, even OTT and video.
Yeah.
I love the idea of self-funding.
Yeah.
But the challenge of trying to make it work in trade is not every retailer or customer breaks out shipments for e-commerce.
That's true.
There's a newer way you can do this through POS and the data that the retailers will give you, where you actually can start looking at how much of my business is coming from
you can break down Walmart POS sales to understand all the nuanced elements of the delivery mechanism.
And then you can either trade it, or you have a trade fund it or marketing fund it. And so that's my answer is, do your analysis of where your sales are coming from. Make sure there's a fund supporting the fastest growing business. And whether that fund comes from trade or it comes from marketing, make sure you're paying attention to your media mix that the marketing budget also has to fund.
So my last question is, doing this at scale, investing in retail media. Obviously, teams that work with Amazon have a long history of understanding how to do that. But expanding out that capability as new retail media platforms come up, I have to imagine making sure that you're constantly enabling upskilling of your teams that are working against each of those retail clients is a critical imperative if you want to be successful at scale.
Yes.
How do you think about making sure that your organization is really prepared and always learning so that you can execute flawlessly at scale?
Great question. And I think it's dedicated personnel.
Yeah.
So in our organization, our Omni Customer Development Group, they were a direct-to-consumer team that I've now assigned them to all retailers and customers. Mm-hmm. So with the data I was just speaking to, right, using the POS from the customers, we actually have our own forecasts that allows my team to actually forecast item level monthly on a unit basis. We apply the list prices, and that gets us to what our share of total sales are in a forecast view. And then from there, then it's a lot easier to train, right? It's clear the prioritization is there. Because the forecast is there, we know how big it can be. So now it's, hey, instead of spending half your day reading reviews and going through images, which is absolutely so important, start first here.
Yep.
And that's where the retailers have really come to meet us, and really, we kind of mirror retailer structure.
Yep.
So like Ulta, for example. Ulta has an Omni buyer. I made sure that the first team I staffed with Omni buyers on my side was Ulta.
Right.
So that they can have a direct conversation that's not even including brick and mortar.
And I have to imagine that this data-driven decision-making isn't made by a bunch of hamsters sitting in a back room. You use a lot of machine learning and partners to help you through this process.
So being in this industry for a long time, I started my career off in Catman.
Right.
And
that's you and I have that together.
And
Batman people, the world unite.
That's
See,
right, that's right.
there's much for us to do.
But definitely start with the platforms
Yeah.
and the vendors that aren't going to be just I jump in this and I do it myself. Have them teach you. Then look to build it yourself. And that's what we've done. Is there's a lot of really smart people out there that are either at a company and a platform or that are on their own. We have a powerhouse on our team, a powerhouse of one. The former CTO of Stackline works with us, and he builds all of our Power BI. We have web crawlers, we have essentially everything we've learned that is a need. We started it by a partnership, proved out how actionable the insights could be, and then we made a bigger push of actually hiring in-house for those kind of capabilities.
Matt, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today.
Of course. It's a
Pleasure having you,
Awesome.
and thanks for joining us
Thank you so
talking
much.
on the
Thank
CPQ
you.
guys. Bye, everybody.